So guys, today I've got something really special for you. I'm super excited about this. Give a little bit context before we go into it. So about 10 years ago, during the peak phase of Modern Warfare 2 commentaries and Machinima, Ken Burton was like a British content creator and he was signed to Machinima. And he was known, for me at least, for like his contagious laughter in his commentaries. It was very, very uplifting. And maybe, if I may say so, the not so skilled gameplay. Okay, that was kind of a trademark, but like a nice one. But it
How
has to be said,
very dare you? How
I
very
know.
dare
What a
you?
way to get into this. But he was like a real pioneer of like commentary videos. And because at the time not many people did it, but he had communities of people joining him using the K.E.N gamertag when they played Call of Duties. To me, he always represented like a big inspiration. He's part of the reason why I started YouTube, and I feel genuinely honored to have him on the channel. Thanks so much for being here, Ken Burton.
Oh, you are very welcome, sir. You are very welcome. I don't do many of these nowadays. Very occasionally, I get people who see me in Warzone or whatever, and they'll go, "Hey, didn't you used to be Ken Burton?" Yeah, I used to be Ken Burton. I'm not anymore, of course, but yeah, I used to be Ken Burton long time ago, mate.
Yeah, I can
So,
imagine. So before we get into the whole Machinima story, which I'm sure a lot of people are
mm,
waiting for, I want to ask you, like, because I'm really curious, like, because at the time, like 10 years ago, doing commentaries and doing YouTube and all that, that was not really a thing, especially in the UK.
yeah.
How did you find out about it at the time, and what got you into it? And what was your idea? Was it like a career plan, or was it more like a fun thing that then got bigger? What was your idea when you started doing it?
Right. It was perhaps one of the craziest things that ever happened to me ever. So I was working for a major car manufacturer in the UK, French car manufacturer, and I ran the IT department. Okay. And in late 2010, they decided in their infinite wisdom that they were going to make us all redundant and bring it in-house in Paris. And at that time, I'd spent 5 years as an IT projects manager. And to be honest, I mean, I'd missed whole years of my son growing up, and it wasn't something I ever wanted to do again. And I thought, well, sod it, I'm going to take 6 months off before I go and look for another job, and I'm going to reconnect with Dan. So what we did, I mean, Dan at the time was playing COD 4, Call of Duty, and I thought, well, that's fine. I used to be pretty good at Tetris. Let me have a little go at And those of you that remember Duke Nukem,
I
I was
do.
pretty good at that a long time ago. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go out and buy an Xbox or PS2 or whatever it was at the time. And I did this, and between the two of us, we started gaming together, and we were reconnecting. And he go to school, he'd come back from school, and we'd get on the PS, and be gaming away on COD 4 and that, just having an absolute whale of a time. Anyway, he started to talk about these guys that were making videos, because Dan was and still is an exceptional gamer. He was the exact opposite of me. He was easily at a level where he could have joined a team, a professional team. He was easily at that level. With a sniper rifle, this kid could just snap a pixel on the screen from across the map, and he'd take somebody's head off. And I just found this amazing. And he said, "Dad, there's all these guys like who are out there starting to make videos of recording this stuff and putting it on YouTube." He said, "But I don't really know how to do it." So because I wasn't working, I'd got some experience of video work. So I basically learnt how to put together a YouTube channel, how to edit, how to get all the software down. And between the two of us, we started to record videos. And his videos were of him playing a game, and he would get 30 kills and during my practice sessions, I was getting probably 3. He would go 32, right, and I would go 230, right. So that was the difference. So anyway, learning how to make YouTube videos and recording your PS and all the rest of it, I made a couple of videos myself, and just for a laugh, I uploaded them. And I think the first one was entitled "Why Am I So Shit at COD?" Right, and it got loads of views. Everyone was viewing this video. All of these guys from the age of 12 to probably about 18 at that time put a comment on the video. And I looked at it, and it had got like 5,000 views in the space of a day. And I thought, wow, that's just incredible. And then the next time I looked, it was 10,000, and then 50,000. And I thought, this is just Looney Tunes. So I uploaded a couple more videos, and they equally got the views. So Dan was also uploading at this time. And so I'm sat there one day, and I'm not working, so I'm getting up at 11 o'clock. I'm there, I'm awake at midnight, playing around on the computer, gaming. And I got an email from this guy who said, "Can you give me your phone number?" And I thought, no.
Of course, yeah. So did that guy identify himself, who he's from, a company and everything?
Yeah. And I would like to identify him to you, but he went on to become an extremely successful entrepreneur, and I wouldn't want to embarrass him. Yeah, no, he now works, or he owns the company that represents the likes of Syndicate. And, so anyway, he was working at Machinima, and he sent me this email. And because I gave him my email address and my personal email address, and he sent me an email. He said, "Look, I'm from Machinima. You are making me literally wet myself and fall off the chair when I'm watching your gaming. Will you please give me a ring?" So he left me a phone number. So I phoned him, and he said, "What we want to do is we want to put your videos on our channel." And this was Machinima Respawn. So I said, "Yeah, do what you want, mate." And he said, "Well, obviously we'll pay you." So fucking what now? You'll do what? We'll pay you. So, right, okay. So anyway, I made 4 or 5 exclusive videos and sent them off to this guy. And he came back and said, "Everybody loves it here," which actually turned out to be not true. But he said, "The fact that you are so bad, the fact that, despite the fact that it is obvious that you're not doing this deliberately, you are trying, but you're just terrible." He said, "But your content is just lighting up a room." And so I was like, well, great, so I started making more and more videos. And that's pretty much how it got started. And this was 2010. So yeah, that's how it all got started.
So when this guy approached you, were you aware what Machinima is, maybe through your son? Like, did you know that existed at all?
No, I didn't have a clue. My son knew. And when I told him about it, he was a young teenager, so it was obviously, "Dan, I've had this call from Machinima," and he's going, "Fuck off, Dad." "No, I have, honestly, Dad, fuck off." "No, Dad, I have. I've had this phone call from Machinima." "Yeah, right. Fuck off." And then he just couldn't get his head around it. So I did a couple of Skype calls with these guys. And it turns out that the first Skype call I thought was just me and this guy, and it wasn't. There was 10 people around a conference table, and they're firing questions at me. And I'm saying, "Look, this is just a laugh. and they're saying, no, we think you've hit on something, because everything we've got on our channel is very serious. It's very try hard, and it's something for the kids that want to go and like do this semi-pro or pro. It's something for them to aspire to. You represent the average gamer, the guy that's never going to do that in a million years, but he enjoys playing COD. You do it for the laughs. They do it for the kudos and the experience and the
the KDs and all that.
Yeah, all of that KDs. I mean, I'd never give a shit about a KD.
Yeah, but that's the trademark, right? That's why it was probably so fascinating, because it was such a polar opposite to all these other guys that were on those channels. And you just didn't care. Like, you made terrible gaming your trademark, right? I'm curious, because Dan was so good at the time already. Did you ever think about taking his gameplay and you kind of talk about it, just to kind of, show impressive gameplay? Because that probably would have stopped your career early on, because then the trademark would have never happened, right?
Do you know, I took some of Dan's gameplay and I put it on my channel as a sort of comparison. And when you watched it back, it was so obvious that it was him playing and not me. He was doing these, these 360 no scopes, and couldn't do that. If I tried to do a 360, I'd shoot one of my own players. But it was just like that. And then the next landmark, I mean, this is back in 2010 when this happened. The next landmark was, again, they got me around a conference table on a laptop. They're all sitting there in Hollywood, and they're chatting about there is potential to do a lot more around what you've started here. We've concentrated on serious gameplay, but we don't necessarily need to do that. And not everyone wants to see that. We can widen our audience by doing something else. And a guy in the room said, look, we've come up with this thing. He said, no, I haven't told anybody this yet, that I'm going to say this. He said, but we've agreed that we're going to come up with this thing called Premier Directors, and we're going to have 10 of them, and they are going to be the elite, the best of the best. Wouldn't it piss off the entire gaming community if we made Ken a Premier Director? Oh, shit, the hate. And they did. They announced it. And the thing is, I'd probably been doing it for 2 months. And then the first check arrived. I was like, are you serious? How much are you going to pay me for this? You've got to be kidding me. But it was more than I was earning at the car place. So
that's great.
That's kind of how it happened,
right.
Really.
And so then there you were, like, and how was it for you, as someone who obviously is not even in the US? You're a British citizen. You live in the UK, and you're part of this huge thing over there in Hollywood. I mean, you kind of talked about it briefly, but did you feel like part of it, or did you feel like you're just like kind of like an observer sitting on the sidelines and watching it happen and do your videos?
Well, I had, on a daily basis, I probably had 4 people that I spoke to at Machinima, and it was going great. They were doing Sark, Seananners and Hutch were doing this thing from what they called Whore Alley.
Oh, I remember.
Which basically they go and stand outside in the street, record themselves, and talk about what's coming up on Respawn that week. And I was getting mentioned all the time, so I could really just feel the love, And Sark, especially, Sark was brilliant. He didn't, at that time, he didn't converse with me as an individual, but he was there certainly in some of the meetings, and he was very supportive. But I was really starstruck by Sark and Hutch and Seananners and these guys. So I was quite quiet in that sort of environment. But yeah, so this is Ken, the Premier Director now. This this is Ken making videos.
So obviously from the company, then you got a lot of love, and people loved you kind of being this nearly outsider personality a little bit, like not being like so competitive. That's what I mean by that. But then obviously also, if I looked up like a Reddit thread a few years back where people said, hey, what happened to Ken Burton? And quite a few people are always still getting on about the bad gameplay and being like, yeah, I liked him, but the gameplay was just shit, man, it was shit. How was that for you? Did you get a lot of hate as well? Like, and how did you experience all that hate?
Well, the hate was immense. It was, I mean, there would be some days where it'd be just constant, and it would be emails. It would be somebody leaked my phone number, and I was getting phone calls. Later on, somebody leaked my address, and I had pizzas turning up at the house. And I'm still banned from Domino's because because the sheer number of pizzas that were delivered during that time that I had to turn away. No, but where I'd come from, and certainly being older, especially in project management and IT project management in particular, is a hateful position. Everybody hates change. So I was used to hate. I was used to, I mean, hate to the point where people wouldn't have pissed on me if I was on fire, you know, that sort of hate. So I'd become accustomed to it. So what was happening with 12-year-olds calling me a wanker, I really didn't give a shit.
Right. I understand.
Care less.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. So I think if I'd have been 18 and doing that job, that would have affected me big time. But it didn't. So yeah.
Interesting. So how long did that then go? So 2010, it really kicked off, and you were mentioned on all the Respawn episodes and stuff, and it really kind of grew in fame. So when was the peak, would you say? When was it, like, you feel now looking back, the biggest?
Right. So I did that for a year. And then in 2011, I'd approached another guy who is quite high up in Machinima. And I said, look, if you guys really want to go international, and don't say you are because you're not, if you want to go international, you need community managers in every country, right?
Yeah.
Simple as that. So this guy listened to that. And there was a guy, a London streamer and gamer, and I've forgotten his name. I've a feeling it was something like JX23, something like that. Does that ring a bell? But he had also had the same idea, and he'd approached them as well. And they said, well, that's really quite an interesting idea, because at the time I was doing with them was making games and making videos, and they were uploading those videos. As a community manager, it meant that I would take over the onboarding side, so the partnerships. And that was a really, really quite serious role. And they knew that they were getting swamped with applications for partnership, because you couldn't get a YouTube partnership at that time.
Right.
Or you could, but it was really difficult. So to get a partnership, you know, with Machinima, you get paid for playing COD. Every single 12-year-old in the country wanted to do that. And then throughout Europe, and then throughout the world. So they put me in the UK, a guy in Germany who then became something quite high up in Razer, and a guy from Brazil who unfortunately didn't turn out to do the job that well. I think he ended up taking money out of the company or something, then disappeared, something like that. But it was, you know, pitfalls of it. But it meant that, from my point of view, all of a sudden, my followers quadrupled overnight, because this is the guy that's now giving out partnerships. And that was the only reason it quadrupled, not because of my gameplay or because of my content, purely because I was the guy giving out partnerships. And it was the next milestone. I was actually working for Machinima now. I wasn't on their books. I was self-employed because it was too complicated to employ somebody from another country. But I think there ended up being about 5 of us who were doing community management work. So that was the next big milestone.
So that was already Machinima UK then, wasn't it? Like that was branded
No,
Machinima. No, that came later.
that came later.
Because that would have been my next question. Like following on from that, like how did we come to Machinima UK? You said there was like Germany, Brazil, and UK. So there were these 3 initiatives in those 3 countries.
Yeah.
But how long did it take? When was Respawn UK? Was it Machinima? I think it was Respawn UK, right?
Machinima UK.
Machinima UK. When did that come to be? And what was the story behind that?
So you're going on now about a year because there was a couple of things happened in the middle of that. I went to Gamescom in Germany with Sark and can't remember who else. Well, there was a load of the big names there. We had a whale of a time. You know, it was just, I was with, I shared a room with Tejps. You know who Tejps is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was Dutch, wasn't he? Dutch creator. Or was he Dutch?
Tejps was one of the most famous gamers out there at that point. And I just had like 4 days with Tejps and KSI and Syndicate and all of these top gamers. And we just had such a great time. It was just utterly brilliant. But we came back from that, and then the whole onboarding thing became way too big, and I wanted to move things forward and start our own UK channel. So I knew we couldn't do this because the guy at the very top, Aaron Devopoir, he was one of the most brilliant business people I've ever met. But there is no way you could just sit in front of him and pitch him an idea. He wants to see a business plan, chapter and verse. He wants to see A to Z. So what I did was I suggested that they bring somebody else in to do the onboarding, leave me with a bit of community management, and leave me doing what I was also doing, which was working with a lot of these kids. Call them kids, young teenagers, and teaching them how to edit video, because you don't just pick up Adobe Premiere and start using it. You know, a lot of these kids, really, really top gamers, but they didn't have the first clue about setting up a channel, doing a background, doing a header, lower thirds, let alone the editing side of it. So I was spending probably about 3 days a week at that point with a lot of people teaching them how to do this. And my wife then became the onboarding person. So she was then employed by Machinima.
Wow.
And she was doing the partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because at that point we'd actually set a criteria. You needed X amount of views. You needed your channel to be going for 6 months. You needed X amount of videos. So it was a very set criteria. So my wife was bringing these guys on board and then giving them partnerships, and I was working on the community side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had this idea then that we should start our own channel. All the countries should start their own channels, right? And then B, we take the whole thing to the next level. So what I did, and the next level being this, I put together a business plan of premises, and I found the premises that we could use, which was next to a big hotel, cheap hotel, and we could move in there, live stream the place 24/7, and do constant gaming, right? Constant. So the idea was that we would, like, all the UK guys, and you just invite anyone down, and it wouldn't matter if it was Syndicate, KSI, or Joe from Essex. You know, if these guys want to take part, you just invite them down, give them 3 or 4 days in the hotel. We all game together, and then we take on the Americans, or we take on the Germans, or, you know, we have all these battles with these different games. And it was an early esports idea before esports ever happened.
That's right.
I put together the business plan. It wasn't going to cost anything because we had Razer, who wanted to sponsor us. Mad CATZ were just crazy for it. They took me out to lunch in Milton Keynes, and they were promising big money to help us set this thing up.
They saw the potential. They knew this is going to be big. Like,
yeah,
right.
We had Virgin Atlantic, who wanted to come in. We had Red Bull, who wanted to come in. There was a list of sponsors. So I put this business plan together and sent it to the Americans and said, look, I want to come and pitch it, right? I want to come and pitch this, but here's the business plan. And they said, they came back and almost immediately and said, okay, start the UK channel. And we'll give you something like 10 grand a month or something to pay for the videos. Don't do it on the advertising thing, buy the videos. So, and this was another idea that was floating around at the time, that a lot of these younger guys who had crap equipment, they couldn't really wait for the advertising and the $150 a month that they were getting to get to a stage where they could buy professional equipment. So we would just give them £500 for the video, and we buy it. We buy the IP. We've got the rights. Okay. And we did this with loads of people. We did it with JackFrags. We did it with all of these guys. So the UK channel was going great guns. And then I got the phone call, come over to the US, come and spend a month with us, and get to see us. We get to see you. You already know a lot of the people over here, and we'll see how it goes. And then you can pitch your idea to the people that own Machinima.
And what year was that roughly? And just context?
That was 2012 when that happened. Late 2012, because it was going into 2013. So we got to that point, and I went over to America, and they put me up in a local hotel. And my first day, I couldn't get in the building. And I was saying, well, look, you know, you better get, it was entry card system. And I said to some woman there who was in charge of this sort of admin stuff, I said, you better give me an entry card because I'm here for a month. And she said, but you don't work for the company. I said, well, yeah, I do work for the company. She said, no, you don't work for the company. And I thought, right, okay, just let me the fuck in. So I went in, and I experienced something that I totally didn't expect. Utter contentment. It was absolutely diabolical. The few people that I spoke to, like, I'll give you an example. Hutch wouldn't talk to me, right? He didn't want to be anywhere near me or in a room with me. Wow. And I never really got why, but well, I did find out afterwards. But Seananners wouldn't talk to me. Sark was really standoffish. You know, he was in another department anyway, but he was really standoffish. There were guys that were doing the other channels, inside gaming channels. They couldn't stand me. They were like, why is this guy here? Why are we having a meeting with him here? And they were doing this openly while I was sat there. It was such a shock to the system to know that there was this level of, hate coming from, and there's no other word for it. There was utter hate. I found out afterwards that they resented the fact that I was trying to make this thing go global, all right, because they felt it was a US thing. And I think from a lot of the bigger stars, their worry was that if there was a global set of stars, and there would be. If you watch Top Gear,
Hmm.
there's a Top Gear US, and they've got their own stars, and there's Top Gear Germany, and they've got their own stars, and it would take something away from them, because they wouldn't be the Machinima Respawn star anymore, the star
Right.
player, because
Wow.
the guy in Germany is just as good, and that's taking views away from me. And you know, it the resentment was just incredible, incredible. I tell you what, the first few days I thought, yeah, they're just getting used to me being here. Um, by the end of the first week, I went back to my hotel room and was probably that close from getting on a plane,
Hmm.
because it was just too much. It was just too much.
It's odd, isn't it?
No,
Because they invited you as well. They were
yeah,
the people who said you should come over, and
yeah,
you go there with that positive spirit, thinking, everyone's on board with this plan, potentially, or at least let you pitch the idea. And then to
but
hit
not
a wall like that.
not
Fascinating.
one of them said to me, "Oh, you're a visitor in a foreign country. Come and have a beer tonight."
Wow.
Not one of them said that in a month that I was out there.
So you
And
finished the
yet
month. You did the whole thing.
I did the thing. But they were telling me, or I did hear loads of stories about, oh, when Tejps came over, God, they were out every night. They were in nightclubs. They were doing this. They were doing that. When Syndicate came over, they were doing this. They were doing that. I come over and no one's barely talking to me.
Hmm.
And the guy who I was working for at the time, the guy I was reporting to, he got my pitch, and he said, "Right, okay, well, the owners are really, really busy, so I'll take them your pitch." And then I went home,
Hmm.
and I was just totally gobsmacked. I mean, we put in so much work and so much detail into this pitch. We'd got an agreement with the hotel to get cheap rooms. We had got the cost of the thing covered 3 times over by the level of sponsorship that I'd secured already, verbal, admittedly, but we'd got it. I just couldn't understand it, just
Hmm.
couldn't understand it at all. And then I don't know, it kind of all went quiet. And whenever I asked about it, I could never get hold of the guy I was working for anyway. But whenever I asked about it, it'd be, "Oh yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot in the background and all this." And I don't get it. I didn't get the logic at all,
Hmm.
and it was really, really strange. But that's where we kind of got to at the end of 2012, going into 2013, when I'd completely lost heart with it, completely. Months and months of waiting for them to, if they didn't like the pitch, say no.
Sure.
But at least somebody look at it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
You know?
especially since they invited you. I mean, do you think, because I remember at some point, as a viewer, obviously it had nothing to do with Machinima, but as a viewer, you could already at that time feel that the vibe changed within the company, the way that videos were done by Sark, by all these people.
Yeah,
It just wasn't the same anymore as a few years
yeah,
before. You could read into it. And I feel that probably stuff inside the company had already changed in some form. Maybe kind of it was foreshadowing that we're already in the late stage of the big success of this company to an extent. Do you
mm.
think it really was just about you trying to go global and kind of the envy and fear of them losing their status? Or was it also to an extent the bigger picture of, just understanding that like the whole thing is already kind of crumbling and it was just a general fear?
Well, funny enough, I had a lot to do with Aaron Debevoise after I left Machinima. Right, I'll tell you about that in a bit. But I found out afterwards that Machinima was never intended to be a business that would be kept. It was a business idea, a startup that would grow to a certain degree and then get sold off, and then they'd move on to the next big thing. Right? That was the whole idea. And I think that at that time, maybe they were talking to Warner Brothers,
Mm,
and they were talking to other people about selling the business. So they wouldn't sell the business. They wouldn't expand if they were about to sell the business. And that's the only logic I can come up with, because the thing paid for itself. It was a natural progression. And it's the time when YouTube decided to fuck everybody, right? And they did it by doing this. When I started in 2010, I could put meta tags into my videos that meant that they were in the viewing column next to another video. So if somebody very clever, very famous, made a video and it got 1 million views, then somewhere on the right-hand side, because I'd used his meta tags, would be my video. And that's and doing that sort of thing and doing collaborations is what built channels. But YouTube decided to fuck everybody 2 years in. And what they did was they would only have down the right-hand side the top earners for them. So if you watched a Syndicate video, a KSI video was next to it. Or a Tejps video was next to it. All the people that didn't need the money because they were earning top dollar. So there was nowhere to go for people that wanted to make videos and make a success. And this idea that we'd had would have given people that. It would have given you, you've got 10,000 subs on your YouTube channel, but we could have in that circumstance put you in front of 40, 50,000 people as a gamer, and all of a sudden your face gets known, all of a sudden your channel goes up, more people are looking at it. And we would have given this opportunity to literally hundreds of people. Week in, week out, just Joe from Essex, Tom from Newcastle, and George from Glasgow. Come down, spend 3 days with us. Put yourself in front of the camera for a few days. If you're shit at gaming, I don't care. That's not the criteria. If you can sit in front of a camera and speak while you're playing a game, that's the criteria. It just would have been almost the ultimate community service. But we couldn't get it anywhere. We couldn't get it to take off. And then, of course, once esports came in, we were fucked anyway. It was never going to happen.
So would you say that, like, that trip when you visited Machinima and stayed there for a month, and then that was really like the big marker for you personally, where you said, okay, this is kind of really the beginning of the end in a way, or was it too early to say that?
No, it was the beginning of the end, but it was never, for me, it was never going to be a long-term gig anyway, because, I was coming up to 50 years old, and it's a young man's sport. It's a sport for people of your age. This whole
I'm 40. I'm not young at all, but yeah.
Yeah, but you don't look like you know AP like I do. I mean, so I always knew that it was a stopgap. It was a thing that was going to happen for a period, and then at the end of that period, I was going to go back and do IT for somewhere, right? And it was always temporary. It always was. But I thought that I could leave my mark. And this is where the whole K.E.N tag thing came in as well. I thought I could leave my mark and then just walk away. But I think it was early 2013. We did another Gamescom. It was awful. It was just awful. There must have been 10, 15 guys there, plus camera crews, sound engineers, producers for Machinima.
From the US, they shipped them all over.
Yeah. So I was there. They asked me to go over. Don't know why, because they didn't use me at all. I mean, in the first time I'd gone over, I was on camera. Me and Sark did some comedy sketch on a beach. We did a comedy sketch next to an airplane. It was just constant working with the team. Second time I went over, I was even in a different hotel.
So everything was just different. Like nothing was the same. I'm
not saying that was deliberate, but I would phone them and say, "So, what you doing tonight, guys? After the day at Gamescom, what you doing tonight, guys? Where you going?" We're meeting in the lobby at 8:30, and I'd go to their lobby at 8:30, and they'd met at 8 and had gone. Yeah, so it was all it was pretty obvious they didn't want me there. And a certain person who was very well known, his face was everywhere on one of the channels. He was so fucking rude to me that a couple of times I was kind of, contemplating, well, do you know what? I should just quit Machinima and make a video about this and record what that fucker just said to me, because people will not believe it and it will ruin him. It will ruin him. But I didn't. A lot of things happened over there that I didn't say anything about or do anything about. Just came home, and we then had a month, and then my wife and I went away to Greece on holiday. And while I was out there was all this stuff on social media about Machinima UK has been closed, and I didn't know anything about it. And they closed the channel.
Wow.
Ended my contract, and nobody had told me.
So without you knowing, that just made that decisions from the US.
Yeah.
And you were on holiday while that decision came through.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in Greece when that happened.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, a couple of months prior to that, the writing was on the wall, because I got a call from a guy at Machinima, and he said, "We need to kill your budget for the UK." I said, "Right, okay, so we're going back to the model of working off advertising commission." He said, "No." I said, "Well, how are we going to pay for content?" He said, "We're not." "Okay, how do I get content?" He said, "Just, if people can get these YouTubers that have got 3 subs, and they'd be very grateful, I'm sure, to make a video to get their name out." Right, okay, so I can no longer have JackFrags or Seananners, or not Seananners, but Syndicate or KSI. I can't have anybody anymore that's well known and sort of famous in the UK. All I can do is pick up on 12-year-old kids who know, and most people did know, that we were paying for videos at that time because we've made a thing about it, and say, "Well, yeah, we did pay for videos, but now I want you to give me yours for free." It was just mind blowing. So that ended. It just ended.
Right.
Yeah.
And then kind of coming out of that, you still had your channel, which had, I don't know, 50,000 subs or more, probably, the Ken Burton channel and a few other channels. At some point you decided to delete all of them, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that? Was it just professional reasons, or?
I had signed away an awful lot of rights to do with NDAs, to do with various other legal crap that they put you through. And an awful lot of my videos, I talk about Machinima. And basically, I wasn't allowed to. So I was asked to take them down. The ones where I spoke about Machinima, or being a community manager, or doing community work, that had to come down. There were so many that just deleted the lot.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I was so pissed off, to be honest. I was just so pissed off with it.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to hear the story in that way, because like it really is the rise, right, of like you're becoming everybody's darling, and you're this kind of, really creator that's so different from everyone else, to then suddenly it reaches the peak and then it falls off a very steep cliff, I find that so interesting. But to be honest, to be fair, I mean, obviously I wasn't there, but probably in fairness to people like, Sark, Nanners, Hutch, all these people, I understand that at the time, from your perspective, it must have been horrible because it was hard to comprehend what's suddenly going on. But putting myself in their perspective, I think these guys were just also under an enormous pressure to deliver and trying to protect their own success and their own role. And they were so young at the time; they didn't even know what really was going on, I'm sure. And then obviously after that, Hutch quit as well, and then went on a hiatus for I think several years. Even he just disappeared and all that, which is also an expression of like the pressure that those guys, I don't want to defend them, what they did, the way you describe it is horrifying. It's a horrifying story. But I'm sure, it would be super interesting to hear the same story from the other guys, and just to hear their perspective, because I'm sure they had their reasoning as well. They were not just really vile people.
But I now understand why, because in a conversation, I went back to America, right, after Machinima finished. And that's a whole other story, but I basically got a conversation with somebody that had worked at Machinima in quite a high place, and what he was saying was this: Sark, to a lesser extent, Seananners definitely, Hutch definitely, are serious gamers. There is no room for comedy in what they do or how they do it. So whilst I was saying, oh, you want to bring me into a lobby, we could be on the same team, or I could one-on-one you or something like that. There was no room for that in their lives. These were serious gamers. And I guess I underestimated how seriously they took their gaming. They didn't want me anywhere near their channels or anywhere near them, because they're not about what I was doing. I'm so far removed from what they were doing that never the twain, mate. You're never going to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But after Machinima, I had a phone call, and I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. Aaron Debevoise phoned me up, and he said, okay, the Machinima thing's all gone now. I've sold it. I'm not involved in it anymore. I've got a new project. Come and work for me. And I can't, because of, again, NDAs.
Yeah, of course, yeah. What year was that then?
I can't even tell you what he was working on. That was 2014.
Right.
So I went back to America, and I worked with Aaron, who I still maintain is one of the cleverest, most insightful people in gaming or in YouTube or social media that I've ever met in my life or on the planet. The guy, there is a reason why the guy is probably a multimillionaire, because he has insight. He's got ideas for startups that the rest of us couldn't even dream up in a million years, and he brought me out there to help with one of them for a while. I've got so much time and so much respect for that guy. Everything, I worked very closely with him at that time. Everything he does, everything that he says is measured. He never says anything off the cuff. He never makes an offhand remark. There's never anything wrong. There's never a problem. There's always a challenge. He's that sort of guy, and challenges are there to be overcome. He's just brilliant. I'm sure he's going to pop up in something else at some point and be really out there, and quite, But I don't want to give you the impression that everybody I met at Machinima or in the gaming industry was an arsehole, because there were guys. There was guys like Constant, who was one of the funniest guys I ever met in my life. He was hilarious when I was out there. There was David Vanderhaar, who obviously is chief developer for Call of Duty. And me and him got on like a house on fire. And he's another guy, just a brilliant guy. Shaw Wars, who I worked with huge amount. And he's now in charge of gaming for Twitter, I think. something like that. But he, again, just a fantastic person. And then you had guys like, I think Fwiz took a role doing YouTube's own gaming platform that was going to rival Twitch. So, you know, there were some great guys out there, but I wasn't really connected to those guys because I was working with these guys. I was in this department, and these guys didn't fucking want me there. So yeah.
So now kind of looking back in retrospect, Machinima obviously is gone. I remember they went through this, well, quite dodgy rebranding suddenly, a new logo, and they tried to reinvent themselves, which also went away rather quickly. But like everything is deleted, all that content is gone, and I know that a lot of people, including me, I regret that. I find it sad. I'd love to go back and watch some of the old Hoali episodes or some of your old videos and all that. Do you regret that, or do you think in a way it's good and it draws a line under it and it is what it is?
Well, it's a really difficult one for me because the job that I do now is a very serious job. In the civil service. That's all I can say.
Sure.
But I'm what they call a civilian analyst, which is a very serious role with very serious people. And occasionally one of these things rears its head. Somebody approached me about a month and a half ago, and said, I saw you on YouTube the other day. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I don't know whose channel it was, but obviously they'd ripped off somebody else's channel. He said, but you were on a show called Radio Respawn? And I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, no. And it's like all very serious. And oh, Lord.
If you go onto YouTube and look up Radio Respawn, Hoes and Bros, or Bros and Hoes, then that's the episode that I was in. And I tell you what, that is just so funny thinking back to that. It was my line manager at the time. I was out there, obviously, in America, and my line manager at the time said, oh, there's a problem with Radio Respawn. Somebody can't make it. Somebody's dropped out. You'll have to do it. And I went, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
And all the other guys going, no. But it was 10 minutes until they were ready to shoot it, and so I just threw a Call of Duty t-shirt on and went and did it. And if you look, the banter between the four of us, and I forget who was on it now, but it was obviously Sark, a couple of the other guys, and me, and the banter between the four of us was just immense. It is the funniest episode ever. But and of course, as soon as it ended, all the smiles, and it was like it was like watching a politician. It was like, okay, so we'll be back next time. And they walked off.
It's a show. It's a show.
Okay, now.
Amazing.
Oh dear.
That is amazing.
But yeah, so I came away from that still reeling from it. But to answer your question, I think there's an awful lot of stuff that's still out there, a lot that was ripped off. And for whatever reason, Machinima didn't put a copyright on it. And so it's still there, it's still available. And it's like anything with social media. Once you put it out there, it's there forever. You can never get rid of anything. So there's some stuff out there that I seriously regret. But there's some stuff out there that is just so funny. I mean, we did a series called Silly Soldiers, which was basically persuading everybody on both teams in Call of Duty to do their own game. We would like go into terminal or whatever, and one person would be there with a knife, everyone else would be there with a sniper rifle, and we'd see if we could, who would win in that sort of scenario. So we did a lot of those silly soldiers, and some of those are still out there, and I'm pretty proud of those. They were groundbreaking at the time. And they're really, really funny, some of them. So some of them I'm okay with, some of them not so much. And I still, even to last June, get recognized in the street.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. And you don't know what to do,
Yeah. And they're not 12 anymore, the ones that recognize you. They're all in their 30s probably now.
No.
Or, yeah.
But also, of course, we had the K.E.N tag, which basically the K.E.N tag got taken over by another anti-bullying charity. But it was all about anti-bullying. It was all about gaming with a little bit of respect. And it's a shame, really. I called it K.E.N, Keep Everything Nice, because it represented me at the time. But I should have put somebody else's name on it, really, and perhaps it would have got more traction. But we had T-shirts and mugs, and even Sark put on one of the T-shirts, for Radio Respawn one day. So it was a good idea, and I think it was good having a crew of 20 that all worked together. We all worked together, and we tried to promote this. And then you had, do you remember a guy called Wings of Redemption?
Of course, yeah. There's a great episode of Down the Rabbit Hole about Wings of Redemption. Yeah. Think of the guy what you may, but yeah, I remember him, yeah.
I couldn't stand him with a passion. I had nothing against him until he came across one of my Keep Everything Nice videos. And there weren't many, there were only half a dozen of them. And then he made a video saying some pretty bad things about, look, this is gaming, bullies are good, bullies are what gets you into teams, and I'm going to start my own clan tag called Wing. We inspire nasty gamers. And from then, I tried to get hold of him to say, look, man, you're in the wrong direction with that. Don't promote bullying. It just makes you look like a dick. And he wouldn't take my call. So there you go.
Probably there's also a bit of age difference. You were just in a very different phase of your life when it comes to age as these guys, especially Wings. Also, he was very young at the time. And when you're young, you're more rebellious. You're more like, screw everyone, fuck this, fuck that, While you're old, you're more reflected. Wings now I don't know how old Wings is, but I think the age difference might have played a role there as well. But I personally, I can just say for myself, I really admire, already at the time, and I was young as well, I admired that initiative, and I thought it was great, because bullying has been a problem, and it is increasingly. Now it's even a bigger problem. If you look at it, just let a girl join a Call of Duty lobby. It's incredible what happens. It's absolutely ridiculous. So it was a great initiative, and it's a shame. I mean, you say it's still taken on by a charity, and they're still kind of working with that?
Yeah. It got taken on. One of the subsidiaries of Childline is an anti-bullying charity, and they basically took on. We had a number of concepts and things that we did, and they took that on. And the way that they do it is they promote by maybe getting hold of a really well-known gamer, paying him 500 quid and getting him to talk about it. And it's a shame that they've got to pay these guys, but they have. But they took it on and went down a different hole than we did. We were just out there trying to stop people from bullying others. They've got some more clever people than us, some more important and more influential people than us saying the same thing. And that's a good thing. So definitely. I don't regret that at all. Don't regret that.
Great, man. I really appreciate you came on and you told the story so openly. It was really, really great and insightful. There's a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know, and I'm sure people watching this, listening to it, also didn't know a lot of these stories. Sheds a quite different light on the whole Machinima brand, one that I didn't know about. But coming to an end, where can people find you these days? Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to put out there that you want to
kind of, and not really, because it doesn't really matter. But back probably 20, I don't know, maybe 2014, 2015, I wrote a book. And the book was all about my experiences as a fag-end gangster in Coventry. And growing up as an 18-year-old, 16 to sort of 25. And what we used to do, you know, being we worked with some heavy people, being lookouts, or maybe we might nick a bunch of cars and take them south, you know, all fictional, of course. I mean, the whole book is fictional, unless stated otherwise. But the book I read after I'd written it and went, this is shit. I wouldn't buy this. I wouldn't buy this. So I recorded each chapter as a podcast and put it on my YouTube channel. And there are 125 chapters of this story. Now, there are a dedicated bunch of guys. I mean, when I became a civil servant, I had to take them all down and kill the channel because I couldn't get through vetting.
Of course, yeah.
With that. So, but they're all back up now. They're all on my own channel. And you have a look at my Twitter profile, or just search podcast story Ken Burton on YouTube and you'll find them. But really, they're for the faithful. I've uploaded them because there's a lot of people that come back to me on a regular basis and say, you know, we enjoyed listening to your stories and they're not there now. Any chance you could put them back? And so I have. So I'm not trying to monetize the channel or, you know, get anywhere with it. It's well past that for me. And I don't actually believe now that it's possible to make a successful YouTube channel. I don't believe that's possible, especially if you're not known.
Yeah.
Somebody like you, you're going to make it. But if you are, yeah, you will, because, I mean, your channel's grown exponentially anyway, looking at the history of it. Whereas if you were a fresh gamer today, the only thing you can do is, or making content, the only thing you can do is maybe try and get your face on Twitch and do some streaming. And again, you need some technical knowledge for that. And again, I work with people on that. But even then, you know, you're going to have 6 months of one person is watching, 2 people are watching, 1 person is watching.
That's right.
Shit, where'd the other one go?
Yeah,
you know, it's like that. And the same with the YouTube channel. It's almost impossible to grow a YouTube channel now. Once you get to 10,000, it becomes possible. Word of mouth starts getting out and people come to your channel and you do good content. People want to see it, especially if you're doing news and events. I think that people want to know news and events, and they want your take on a particular event as opposed to what they can read on the news or the bullshit in Reddit or whatever. So yeah, I've got a channel out there, but it's there if you want to see it. If you don't, it's fine.
I'll definitely also make sure to link it in the description of this video so people can go straight over and subscribe and show a bit of love and check out. Because to be honest, I didn't know that I knew that you're doing these podcast stories, but I didn't know that they originated from a book that you wrote. That's not something I knew. So that's an interesting layer to this. So I'm going to definitely go and check them out for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. This was really, really good. And anyone watching, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for your time as well. And I hope to see you on Ken's channel, on my channel. Take care of yourselves.
All the best with the channel, dude.
Thanks so much. Thanks for your trust in the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, man.
Bye-bye.